calling to order the Monday, October 19th, 2020 regular meeting of the 38th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Here.
Councilmember Gavin.
Here.
Councilmember Hennon.
Here.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Mayor Turbrack.
Here. Our first order of business this evening is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Support.
Support.
Motion to approve made by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Tonight's agenda has been approved. At this time, please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. With us this evening is Deacon Dan Darga.
Deacon,
Go ahead,
you're
Deacon
muted.
Dan. We'll do the invocation first, and then we'll do the pledge. Go ahead. There you go.
And so we pray. We gather tonight and we do open ourselves to holy wisdom. Let us be mindful of God's invitation to love and ask for God's blessing and guidance. Ever-present God, since you breathed life into Adam and Eve, you have been with us in all times and in all seasons. Open our minds and our hearts to use whatever power we have to serve as your representatives, to serve as members of this community of Berkeley, to show your life to the world. Almighty and ever-living God, your hand lies in every heart. Look with favor, we pray, upon this council and upon this community. Be especially with those who govern us, that all that we say and do and act may be in accordance with your holy will, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Deacon Dan. We've now come to our first public comments of the evening. Remember, this is for comments that are included on tonight's agenda. You may present your thoughts and issues on topics that are going to be on the agenda. There will be a spot or a public comment section at the end of the meeting for items that were not on tonight's agenda. Remember, council members will not engage you in discussion, but if your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or a department of the city, please email the clerk's office at clerk@berkleymich.net or call the clerk's office at 248-658-3310. If you would like to comment, please raise your hand or dial in at 1-312-626-6799. Again, that's 1-312-626-6799, and you will be recognized by either name or number. When you speak, please state your name and city of residence, and remember, you will be limited to 3 minutes. After that, you will be muted.
I'm seeing no public comment at this time.
All right, well, we've got some folks with us this evening, so just in case they're trying to figure out how to either raise your hand or get your attention, we'll give them another second. Ms. Mitchell, you do not have any correspondence either today, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Still nobody, Tori?
None at this time, sir.
Okay, last chance. Speak now. Forever hold your peace. Okay, we'll be moving on. We will now be moving on to tonight's order of business. First is our consent agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
1, approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the 38th regular city council meeting on Monday, September 21st, 2020. 2, warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1355. 3, motion number M5720. Matter of approving the 2020-2021 winter maintenance agreement between the Road Commission for Oakland County and the City of Berkley. The city will be reimbursed a total of $11,170.05, which will be paid in 2 installments, $5,585.03 due in December 2020 and $5,585.02 due in March 2021. 4, proclamation number P1520, matter proclaiming October 2020 as Berkley Area Chamber of Commerce Month. 5, proclamation number P1620, matter proclaiming October 2020 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on our consent agenda?
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Our consent agenda has passed. We now move on to our regular agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Presentation, matter of receiving the Genesis Credit Union Spirit of Main Street grant presentation to Susan Rogel, representative of the Fresh Collective Kitchen and Market.
Mr. Baumgarten, who do we have for our presentation this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're joined by DDA Director Jennifer Finney, and then 2 members of the Main Street Oakland County staff, Mr. John Bry and Ms. Annika Norris, as well as Teresa Doan from Genesis Credit Union to make the presentation.
All right, I will turn it over to whoever wants to begin.
I'll go ahead and kick it off if you don't mind. My name is John Bry. I'm the program coordinator for Main Street Oakland County. And it's my privilege tonight to welcome Teresa Doan, who's with the social responsibility sector of Genesis Credit Union. And about 3 years ago, we partnered with Genesis at Main Street Oakland County to create a micro-business Spirit of Main Street business grant. And this is targeted to businesses in the downtown districts of Main Street Oakland County designated communities, includes Berkley, to receive grants to help them out with various efforts related to their business if they are 5 years old or preparing to start a business. So we received the application from the DDA and it was approved. And I will turn it over to Teresa to make the official presentation.
Hello to everyone. Just wanted to let you know how excited we are to be part of this program and to assist, such a great business that's in Berkley. The amount of the check, which Jennifer, I don't know if you actually have the giant size check that we produced, but the amount of the check was $2,100. And we were real impressed with what the market plans to do with the money. So congratulations. And, does the market want to make any comments?
I think you're muted. Hold on.
There we go. There I am.
There you go.
I just thought it would be nice if you could see what we did with the funds. Here's before And then we put this giant bridgeway between us. And so you can go into this beautiful new fresh market space into our shop. And they've already got some amazing things going on in there. A must see when you guys have on behalf of them and myself, we wanted to say thank you too. We're very grateful.
Thank you. I know we have a couple of other folks. Before we put the giant check here on the screen to virtually hand it over again. Anybody else have any other comments? Jennifer, anything from the DDA's perspective you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Berkley is happy to be part of the Main Street program, and it's opportunities like this where we get new and existing businesses able to invest in our downtown, and especially during the pandemic time like this, it's wonderful to see that we were awarded this grant and that it went to such a awesome business that's going to be in our downtown.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, let's see this check. I think we may have it here. I think we're ready to go.
So it's the presentation. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
We can see your screen, Ish.
So there's the check.
Oh, I can only see that your screen is sharing, but I can't see the actual check. Can anybody else see it?
No.
No. Oh,
Yes?
now we're seeing the Main Street accredited program.
That's a different presentation for tonight.
Oh no! Oh no!
No,
Well, for the sake of everybody else, I can tell you that at the ribbon cutting, the actual large check was there, and we were able to. That was presented, and we were able to get some pictures. So, I mean, it's just not the same if you don't get the big giant check, right? I mean, you like to see the check, you can't wait to sign that thing and walk into a bank with it. So that did actually happen at the ribbon cutting, and it is just a tremendous space, certainly an asset to our community. And I know that it will be certainly frequented often, and very excited, one, for you guys to be here and to be up and running, but also thankful to the Main Street program and our DDA for helping to facilitate this grant for our community. Tremendous work all around, and congratulations. Thank you so much. And John and Teresa, thank you for being here virtually with us, and certainly Jennifer to make this presentation. Certainly something to be celebrated. Any comments from members of council? Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to congratulate Susan and the Fresh Collective Kitchen and Market. I'm always excited when a new business opens up in Berkley, and I was at the ribbon cutting. The place looks incredible. I wish you nothing but the best and much success. Jennifer, thank you for your hard work in directing our DDA, and thank you to Main Street Oakland, Genesis. Sorry if I left anyone out, but this was truly a combined group effort, and it's beautiful to see when all these parts work together and come together for the betterment of our downtown. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to echo those sentiments of my colleague there, and as the liaison to the DDA, I'm especially proud to help celebrate and recognize all this great work too. And because of there was no big check, maybe it was an electronic funds transfer. You know how those things are these days, right? But again, congratulations, and it's a great sign, not only for this great business, but also for our downtown as we continue to find creative ways to move forward in this new world that we're in. They do so safely, they do so thoughtfully, and congratulations again to the whole team for making this happen and bringing this to the city. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I can say that the check is in the proverbial mail.
We'll get it in December then sometime, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully you went to, with a UPS or a FedEx or some way to get it there. But, well, thank you all. And again, congratulations, Susan and everybody at the collective. Very exciting. And seeing nobody else jumping up or raising their hand or doing anything to try to make a comment, we will move on to item number 2 on tonight's agenda. Ms. Mitchell?
Resolution number R3720, matter of designating Saturday, December 5th, 2020 for the annual holiday parade and tree lighting ceremony in Berkley.
Is there a motion to approve R3720?
So moved. Support.
Thank you. Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an annual item, as you know. The parade would come down 12 Mile and then ultimately terminate right out in front of City Hall under the gazebo where the tree lighting will take place. So there's actually 2 events coming before council this evening. We're joined by Cindy Kuhn, who is the head of the parade committee, who put together the application and has done the planning up to this point for the event itself.
All right. Obviously, that is what would happen certainly in a traditional year, or what we would like to happen, what we would like to see happen, knowing that this year presents some complications to what we have done in the past. Cindy, do you have any comments you'd like to make before I open it up to council? If you are commenting, it is muted. If you are not commenting, don't worry about it.
Mute. Can you
there
hear
you
me?
are. There you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
We actually have been giving this a lot of thought. It's an outdoor event. Santa, who we normally, our normal Santa Roger, is definitely in, but things will definitely be different. He will not be seeing all of the little girls and boys, but we're encouraging the children to have their Christmas list all, made out, and we're going to have the mailbox there so that they can drop their list into the mailbox. We are, the parade itself, everybody's got to be socially distanced. We feel as though we know that there's Girl Scout troops and Boy Scout troops that are, they're having meetings now, and we feel as though we have to leave it up to the leaders and to keep their children masked and socially distanced. As you know, in our parade, everything is social. We are more than socially distanced. We'd like to go ahead and do the warming center, and that will be run a little bit differently. Each family would be allowed to come up, make s'mores. Everything will be individually packaged and disposed of right then and there. We've given this a lot of thought, and we would just really like to see it definitely take place.
Myself. Yeah, I was muted myself there. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. And just as you have given this a lot of thought, I know members of council have been giving this tremendous thought as well. It's been a difficult year in terms of being able to gather and celebrate as we normally would. We know that without having a Berkley Days this year, without having a Cruise Fest, without having a Summer Fest, without having many of the events that we would like to have, but the reality is safety had to come before those events would be permitted in the city. And it's a similar situation here. Certainly being able to maintain some sort of normalcy this year, especially during the holiday season, would be tremendous. But safety still has to be our primary concern, and there are certainly some practical difficulties with not only what's going on as it relates to COVID right now in terms of cases, but also in what something may look like if we were able to go ahead with an event this year. I'm open to council conversations. I'm open to creative solutions. I just don't see a way that we can do it the same way that we've typically done, especially the tree lighting when we gather everybody so close together. But let's see what council says. Councilmember Baker, you're up first.
Oh, great. Thank you, Your Honor. And Cinda, thank you as always to you and your team. This is one of the many events that our city can really be proud of, and it's as the mayor mentioned, so many of our signature events have needed to be rethought or revisited or postponed or delayed or canceled because of the situation we're in. And I'm really happy to hear that you've put a lot of thought into this as well. So I would really like to be able to support something tonight. And so I took a look at what it would take to move forward with this, right? What would it take to ensure that safety, social distancing, and masking that you mentioned so thoughtfully would indeed be addressed. And so I took a look at the epidemic order that was issued on October 9th, so not that long ago, by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And I was reading through it, and I think it really applies well in this situation here because, as you mentioned, Ms. Kuhn, again, it's an outdoor event, which is great. This certainly alleviates some of the concerns in an indoor gathering. And the epidemic order also gives us some criteria that we can use to help ensure that events that are just proposed are able to be done safely and with everybody's health interests at heart. So the way I'm reading through the thing, and it's available on the website, michigan.gov/coronavirus. It feels like there are basically four boxes that I'd love to see checked. So if there was a way that we could amend this to provide this checklist, and the city manager and staff would ensure that all of these items were checked, and we'd have a way to verify it during the event itself, then I'd feel a lot better about doing something that even was close to the fantastic events that we've had in the past, right? So those the four boxes that I made out of their statement pertaining to outdoor events are as follows. The first one is no more than 1,000 total attendees for the event. So we need to find a way to ensure that we have 1,000 or less, right? 999 would be amazing for this. So no more than 1,000. And then since it is an outdoor event, the state requirements that state requires that we have a limit of 30 people every 1,000 square feet. So the way I figure, if we were to take the map of the parade route and measure out the 1,000 square feet, then we could mark it somehow with like little markers or signs, or we could maybe Mr. Schuler and the fine folks in DPW may have some of those little barricadey things or something we could use to kind of mark off those 1,000-foot sections. The third criteria is that indeed, as you mentioned, the face covering is required for everybody. And then, as I was thinking about how to make that happen, in order to ensure both, less than 1,000 or less total people, we could do that by counting off how many sections we make, right? And then to guarantee that there's only 30 people in each of those sections, we would need some kind of a volunteer to be posted at every one of those stations to first make sure that if anybody leaves the area, we can't have two people come in, that kind of stuff, to maintain the 30. And that they wear their face masks at all times. That's part of the requirement, is to have the face covering. So the way I figure it, to the crux of it, and we could get into all sorts of fun, like virtual ideas. I'd love to talk about like a virtual parade where maybe people, videotape a little segment of them doing something fun, and we stitch it all together with some seasonal music and stuff. That'd be kind of fun. But if we want to try for a fun outdoor event in a new tradition way of doing it, I figure we'd simply just need these four criteria to be met. That three of which are in the thing, and then I think the fourth one is just a practical way to make it happen, right? So again, that's no more than 1,000 attendees total, 30 people every 1,000 square feet, face covering required for all. And then if we were to just, have a volunteer thing, and maybe we need shifts depending on what, how soon we start the festivities, as long as we have a volunteer at every one of those stations to make sure that the 30 quota is maintained and that they're wearing face masks the whole time, I think that'd be great. Now, again, I'm primarily addressing my concerns towards all of our residents and visitors who would come and enjoy the parade. I'm sure, as you mentioned, that there are already great conversations underway to make sure that the safety and health of the parade participants, right, the people with the floats and the marching bands and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that they have their own safety precautions. The state is silent on that. They don't have a thing about parades for this, but they do talk about outdoor events. So I think we pretty much need to, unless we want everybody to get tickets and stuff, that wouldn't be fun. We need to find ways to address those 4 points. So just want to throw that out there. Like I said, I'm really looking for a way to support this. And so I'm hoping that these additional steps have been researched and considered, and that we can support something, knowing that we won't be intentionally putting anybody's health and safety at risk. So that's my opening thoughts.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker. Additional thoughts? And it seems to be that most of that's geared towards the parade aspect of the event. The tree lighting may be more difficult within those requirements that you just mentioned to be able to do it, at least in the traditional way. Additional questions and thoughts from council members?
Can I throw in?
Cindy, yes, go ahead, and then we'll let council members speak, and then
Okay.
you can
Okay.
come back. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a couple of thoughts for you guys there. We also talked about how the parade comes down, and traditionally Santa's sleigh is right there. He gets off and he goes through the crowd. Well, first I want to say that we've never had more than 1,000 people at the tree lighting. That's where we really, really need to be concerned about the numbers. We talked about the entire Coolidge area right there and blocking that. It's already blocked off. But if you need, according to the state, because I'm very well aware, having a restaurant, I'm very well aware of the laws and everything else, to have the numbers split up. Because like I said, Santa will not be seeing the children. We actually talked about doing a sing-along. He said that he would love to do that. And everybody knows this is a very, very different time. It's a different time. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you, Cindy. Additional thoughts, members of council? Councilmember Hennon?
Yeah, so I had also looked at the same guidelines that Councilmember Baker had looked at. He came up with a lot more creative solutions than I did. I like the idea. Split them up. 30 people per 1,000 square feet. Volunteers to monitor each section. I'm afraid the volunteers is where it can fall apart, because we know from media reports people, bristling at being told what safety measures to do, and now this puts volunteers in awkward, if not impossible, situations, and would make it just very difficult and potentially an unsafe situation. I'm more worried about the tree lighting. Like we've discussed, that would be much more crowded. I think you would have to limit it to so few people that there would just be a lot of disappointed people if that was a live event. The s'mores, the warming tent, those are attracting choke points. And singing, the sing-along is, I think, a very bad idea. Singing, shouting is one of the worst things you can do for viral spread, even in an outdoor situation. So that gives me some concern as well. I think Mr. Baker got a lot closer than I thought anyone could to possible solutions, but I still don't think it would be safe enough that I could support this.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard, I believe you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I agree with Councilmember Baker and Hennon. I think this is a serious times. I did take a look at the approximate square footage, and it would allow us maybe up to 200 people in that, but that would also have to be policed very highly. I don't know how we would do that. Just to give you a low level set, I ran, and Huntington Woods went up 1 case, Berkley went up 3 cases over the weekend, Royal Oak 6, Ferndale 2, Oak Park 2, Lathrop Village 6, Southfield 8, State of Michigan 4,700, and the Oakland County 377. So this is on an upward trend right now. We're not looking good, and I think it's going to stay that way on an upward trend probably through the time of the parade. So things are getting worse. I'm not comfortable with having any type of crowd activity like this. So I think that if we approve it, it's going to have a very, very detailed safety plan and a whole lot of people to police it. And I don't think you're going to find people that want to police it in the manner we think it's going to have to be policed to be safe. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Blanchard. Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't want to be too redundant. I happen to agree with everything that Councilmember Blanchard says. I think, that as of right now, I mean, the upward swing on the numbers is alarming. And I think that moving forward with something even in a, relatively, hopefully scaled back version, as Councilmember Baker is talking about, and I think, it's really creative and some really good thoughts. So, thank you for doing that. And thank you, Cinda, for, and the whole committee to, making the effort to try to figure out new and creative ways to do this safely. But the upswing just really concerns me right now. And so I'd have a hard time supporting this as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Gavin. Any other comments from council? I assume most of the sentiment is shared regarding the safety aspect. So I want to be clear, at least personally, not speak for anybody else. I would love to find a way to make something happen this year. It has been an incredibly difficult year for everybody, in some sense of normalcy and celebration at one of our signature events, and to be quite honest, probably my favorite event of the year. I am open to trying to find a way to do something. I don't think, unfortunately, this evening we're going to be able to figure out what that is, just because there are a lot of things that have been brought up and some ideas and some different ways we need to, as far as potentially volunteers or maintaining the space. I mean, those are things that are going to require a significant amount of manpower, volunteer power, or public safety power to try to put into place. And I'm not sure that one would have that or be able to have enough. And as Councilmember Hennon mentioned, or that volunteer potentially having any sort of, putting them in an awkward spot to have to try to tell folks what they can or can't do. And folks say, well, who are you? I'm going to go ahead and do this because I want to see this. So that being said, in the spirit of trying to figure out a way to do something that works, and I know that some of our neighboring communities have been able to, maybe it's something that's a virtual element and combined with maybe a smaller type of element. What I'd like to see is over the next, because the problem is we don't have another meeting until 2 weeks before this event is supposed to happen. And I don't think that would certainly give anybody enough time. It would not give Cindy and the committee enough time to get everything organized. So I think over the next probably 2 weeks. Cindy, and let me ask you this: when do you think? What is your kind of hard stop where you need to know exactly what things will look like to get folks to participate and to get everything in place?
A month ago.
Okay,
A
all
month
right.
ago.
Well, unfortunately, I apologize
to tell
for that.
you, it's listening to everything, and I have to just say to you that we are all residents in the city, and we are just volunteering our time. It's really it's disheartening. I just want to say that, because we did have some ways, but without having any support, without having any support, basically, to say that, you know what, we could probably pull this off. I'm going to say, we even talked about doing a Plan B, which was a virtual parade, and we had that all figured out also. But I am actually going to say that you guys should probably vote on it and vote your conscience, okay? We as the committee of residents, of volunteers in this community, just felt that maybe we could actually bust our butts and pull this off in a safe way, that we're all living this daily. And so we know it has to be safe. We know that there are people out there who are fighting this, and I get it, the frustration level of everyone. I deal with it daily. So to know that your next meeting is 2 weeks before, there's no way. We don't even know about marching bands. We don't know about any groups. Nothing has been mailed out. Things that we do 6-8 months ago have not been done. So we couldn't. We mailed out just saying, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
Well, with that in mind, I will say this: we are going to postponing doesn't make sense when our next meeting is not for until the third week of November. So we're going to have to make a decision tonight. But I will say that I am still, regardless of the outcome of, because we have to vote based on what we have in front of us this evening, and we don't necessarily have all the potential plans in place. I am still committed to figuring out a way to do something if the committee is at all interested in trying to figure out a way to still do something, whether it's a virtual parade or the parade with all the parameters we spoke about, or a virtual lighting. I really want to try to figure out a way to do something, because I think we need it, and I think it would go a long way towards helping our residents and having some, a little increased morale on top of the COVID fatigue that we are experiencing.
Yes.
Especially
Absolutely.
as the weather has changed 100%. I want to do something, and I'm certainly willing to work with you, Cindy, and anything else if we can figure out a way to make something happen.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council members before we call the roll tonight? All right. Well, seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on our 3720?
Gavin,
No.
Hennon,
No.
Price,
No.
Baker,
No.
Blanchard,
No.
Dean,
No.
Turbrack.
As presented, no. Again, that being said, even though this is not at least the reality right now, I still want to figure something out, and I am committed to making that happen. Thank you, Cindy, for being here, and thank you for everything I know that you guys have done to try to figure out a way to make this happen for our community. I promise you, this is not something that we obviously want to do. As we mentioned, this is something we look forward to every year, and hopefully we can figure out some creative ways to continue to bring holiday cheer to our residents this year, even if it's not the traditional way that we would like to do it. We now move on. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read agenda item number 3?
Motion number M5820, matter of appointing a hearing officer for marijuana business license application appeals.
Is there a motion to approve M5820?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, well, the screen flashed so quickly that I could not see who made the motion. I know it was supported by Councilmember Baker. Can I get a hand raise on whoever was in there first? Okay, nobody did it. Oh, Councilmember Price. Perfect. Okay, that's fine. That's good. That'll work. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, we've been moving through our marijuana business licensing process. We have now published the scoring from the applicants. The next step in this would be to allow those applicants to appeal a decision if they felt that the scoring of their application missed something or was done in error. And so the next step for this body would be to appoint a hearing officer. The duties of that position would be to review the facts of the case, discuss the applicant's appeal with them directly, and then render a recommendation to this body, and this body would ultimately make the decision as to whether or not to concur with the appeal as presented. So this is a procedural item that we knew that we would have to come across, and the day has finally come. So what we've done is the city attorney's office has gone through a couple of different options for us. The gentleman that we're recommending to you this evening is Mr. Gregory Need. You'll see his application proposal are included in the packet for you. He's gone through each of the disclosed stakeholders from each of the applications to see whether or not he has any conflicts. Thankfully, he does not have any conflicts with any of those, and it was a big list. And so this gentleman comes to you free, unencumbered by any existing relationships with those applicants. And so he would spend the next probably 3 to 4 weeks going through the 24 or so appeal requests that we have gotten up to this point. And so he is, again, his information is provided in the packet, as well as a memo from my office and the motion itself.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten, for not only the background, and as we knew this was coming following our ordinance and knowing that there would be an appeals process, and for the detail on the hearing officer that is recommended, and you know, transparently the fact that there are no obviously conflicts of interest, which is incredibly important in a situation such as this. Questions or comments from council members? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is this going to hold up the process for the 3 that were approved? Do we stop that process of them going for site review and that sort of thing, or do they keep moving on?
There's quite a bit of pre-site work that needs to be done. So the Community Development Department and myself will be meeting with the top 3 applicants just to give them some sort of gauge of what's going to be expected of them in the next steps. But also letting them know that the appeals process is pending, and there's absolutely a potential that one of them would not ultimately be the top 3 after this process. So we, long way of saying, sir, that we're trying to run parallel tracks on this.
And knowing that if one of the top 3 at this point is no longer in the top 3, then we will have another appeals process. I am going to just go ahead and assume that's going to happen after, if that were the case.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Hennon.
Yes, thank you. The question I have is just another process question. Do we have an idea on the timing when these the results of the hearings might come before us and for us to make our determination?
Mr. Need projected 3 to 4 weeks. If he's ultimately the candidate that's approved this evening, we'll be meeting with him to try to get a better handle on what that process looks like, given the number of appeal applications we've received so far.
So potentially at our next meeting, if that's 3 to 4 weeks from now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Additional questions, comments from council? Again, this is procedural. This is something that we planned for. I appreciate our city attorney's office reaching out and helping to facilitate this and finding a qualified hearing officer, obviously, and as was mentioned a couple of times, without any conflicts of interest to help shepherd us through this process. Seeing no additional comments from members of council, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M5820?
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We now move on to item number 4 on tonight's agenda.
Motion number M5920, matter of approving the purchase of a 2021 John Deere backhoe with attachments and a 2021 John Deere Gator with attachments at a total cost of $158,964.69, utilizing the Mishdale Cooperative Bid Purchasing Program.
Is there a motion to approve M5920?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve made by Councilmember Blanchard with support from Councilmember Gavin. Mr. Baumgarten, would you like to introduce this before we hand it off?
Yes, sir. I'll say only from a process note, we are moving through the My Deal, which is a state cooperative program. So we did not go out to bid for this directly, but we're utilizing a statewide consortium to get the best deal possible. So great find by Mr. Schuler and his staff. And Mr. Schuler joins us this evening.
Thank you,
Mr. Schuler.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Great, thank you. So before you tonight, as part of the current budget, we have 2 pieces of equipment, a backhoe and a gator, and they will be replacing a 2009 unit for the backhoe and a 1998 John Deere Gator. So these are both replacement items. We are using the MyDeal purchasing contract for these, which basically extends discounts to local municipalities. I believe we're getting around a 45% discount on the base backhoe, and I think it's around 11% discount on the Gator. So we're excited to take advantage of that program once again. And we've been very happy with John Deere in general. We already have a front end loader John Deere as well as another backhoe that's a John Deere. So this is going to add to our Deere repertoire, if you will. So we've reviewed all the items available. A lot of attachments are coming with these. Sean Young, our foreman, has been actively involved in this. So we've picked up all the different attachments that we'll be using. These pieces of equipment get used everything from snow removal to curbside leaf pickup to water main breaks, a little bit of everything. So we're excited to bring them in. I think that's the main pieces. I will say the backhoe, the Volvo that this backhoe is replacing, we are getting some trade-in value for that. I believe the number was $27,000 for that unit. So that's a part of this package as well to do the trade-in on the backhoe. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Just a few comments this evening, Mayor. Yeah, I think I went through the specs and everything looks correct. Did a very good job as Sean did a very good job as usual. One of the comments I wanted to make so the people that are listening know that by purchasing through the state cooperative, as Derek said, we saved $92,461 on the base backhoe. So that's 46%. That is a substantial number. So this Michigan cooperative deal greatly helps out the city. All of the attachments were spec'd and everything they've got on the list, I think are greatly needed by the city. There's nothing there that's excess, and I think they did a good job again. So I would recommend that we pass this.
The specs meet your specifications, Councilmember? Okay.
I hope that was a yes.
I'm assuming the answer is yes to that. Okay. Additional questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, Derek, as usual, you and Sean and the team have done a tremendous job, not only continuing to make sure that our fleet and our equipment is functional and functioning at a high level, and as we mentioned a couple times, getting it at a very great rate. Right now, 46% on the backhoe is certainly tremendous. We appreciate your fiscal responsibility in maintaining our equipment. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M5920?
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We now move on to item number 5, please.
Motion number M6020, matter of authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between SMART and the city of Berkeley for fiscal year 2021 for CARES Act funding for the period of January 20th, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
Is there a motion to approve M6020?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Dean with support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In addition to our usual SMART contract, which will come before you as the next item, SMART was a recipient of CARES Act funding, which it seeks to pass along to its member communities. Teresa's done a great job of working with the Oakland County Ombudsman to make sure that we are in receipt of the exact amount that we've expended up to this point, so that we can tie out expenditures to revenues. She's outlined the situation in the memo, as well as included the contract itself for the council's consideration.
Ms. McCarlton, anything you would like to add?
Just to echo what the city manager said, this is additional funds, so we want to be sure that we're only taking what we need. It's both for expenses incurred due to COVID specifically in our transportation program, and also for loss of revenue. Most of the majority of ours will come from the loss of revenue from our fare box from being down for 3 months. And then we are running 4 days a week, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the next item when we're doing municipal and community credits. But obviously that's the majority of it. We do have 3 years to receive the funds back, but we do have to show where those either loss of revenue or expenditures are. So in working with our ombudsperson, Madonna Van Fossen, and also our finance director, we feel that this is the correct amount.
Okay, thank you. Questions for our Parks and Rec director? Well, it appears you did a wonderful job, Teresa and Matt, in making sure that we all understand exactly what is happening here, and being able to participate in some CARES Act funding from SMART, and appreciate you taking the time to figure out what is the correct amount and making sure that we can have that amount covered. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M6020?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. And we now continue our SMART discussion with item number 6, please.
Motion number M6120, matter of authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between SMART and the city of Berkeley for fiscal year 2021 for municipal credit and community credit funds in order to provide public transportation services for the period of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Is there a motion to approve M6120?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Price with support from Councilmember Baker. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Teresa will certainly supply you with the details. I'll just give my annual explanation that despite the fact that this does start in July, we received this in September, and it's typical for us to bring this before the council during the October meeting. SMART runs on a different fiscal schedule than we do, and so the delay is typical.
Yes, it is. Ms. McCarlton.
Hi, apologies. So as the city manager explained, this comes to you every year. You see 2 SMART contracts a year. You see specialized services usually in January, February, and municipal and community credits typically in October. This year, I want to do a couple of things. I want to point out that our municipal funding remains the same, and our community credits increased by $472. I also really want to mention the work that our drivers, our 2 drivers, have done, as well as our senior manager. They've really gone above and beyond. We were down for 3 months when the pandemic first hit. not running transportation. And in early July, we started running 3 days a week again for our seniors for essential trips for doctor's offices and getting groceries. And we're now running 4 days a week. And our senior drivers, James Dunlap and Tim Renaud, are doing a fantastic job. We're doing everything we can to make sure that they are kept safe. We do have plexiglass in our buses. We do wipe down the buses after every use, and we are doing more limited service. So we're not, cramming the buses full. We take only a couple people at a time. But it's such a necessary thing. Our seniors are really appreciative, and I'm so appreciative of our drivers and of Dan for all the work that they are doing to keep everyone safe. We have been running safely since early July, and I think it means a lot to the community to be able to do that.
Yeah, it is incredibly essential service, as you mentioned, and the fact that we are able to be doing this again and with the safety precautions that you spoke of course, obviously, as we've already heard a couple of times today, safety is number one, and you've taken the steps to allow that to take place again, to get folks where they need to go, especially for some doctor's appointments, groceries, the essential things that need to happen, and appreciate the drivers. I think, oftentimes we'll see this every year and we'll talk about it, but we don't necessarily give them the credit, and especially in this circumstance this year, unlike any that we've seen in the past, to be able to continue providing that essential service. Questions for Ms. McCarlton? Well, once again, Teresa, it appears you have done a tremendous job of explaining everything and getting ahead of any potential questions. There are no surprises coming your way. Thank you for being with us for those two items, and I know you're not going anywhere yet. But with that, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M6120?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We now move on to item number 7, please.
Resolution number R3820, matter of approving a resolution to rename Oxford Towers Park to Friends Park.
Is there a motion to approve R3820?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Dean with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Baumgarten, do you want to start, or do we want to just send it off?
I'd happily throw to Ms. McCarlton on this one.
All right, Teresa, you're up again.
This is something that sort of came up in conversation with a number of staff over the last couple of years, certainly the city manager and myself, and talking about it also with the Friends group and with other Parks and Recreation staff. Our Friends group that we have right now, we've had a Friends of Berkley Parks and Recreation in existence in different forms for over a decade, but this most recent group of people have really been very dedicated over the last 5 or 6 years, doing any number of things that we've either asked or not asked. They fundraise the heck out of any fundraiser they have, and there's just a few of them. They've donated a number of items to our community center, to our parks, and really gone above and beyond in providing the residents higher quality parks and recreation services, and they allow us to be able to do much more than we would be able to do. A couple of years ago, they sort of took on Oxford Towers Park as their own. They did a number of beautification projects, a number of park cleaning projects. They worked with an Eagle Scout to install chess tables and a sandbox, and really identified that park as their park. And in looking at our park names and kind of saying, okay, what really makes sense for a name moving forward in the future, one of the things we thought was Friends Park would really be a lovely thing to do, and to rename this park in honor of all that they've done and all that they will continue to do. I know that right now I'm seeing the president of the Friends Group, Adrian Patel, as well as the secretary, Aaron Thomas. So I want to give them a chance to also speak if they'd like to. No pressure, and leave it up to the rest of council for any questions or comments.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for providing some context. And yes, the group has been incredibly active and dedicated to recreation in our community over the time period that you mentioned. And I'm glad that you threw in at the end, will continue to do, and not just say, oh, there's a park named after us. Now we can kind of just rest on our laurels here and not continue to fight for the recreation, the quality recreation programs and services that we have in our community and will continue to have in the future.
They will, I cannot say it yet, but they are going to be doing something this winter that I think will be making a lot of people very, very happy. So stay tuned.
Okay. Comments first from our council members, questions or comments? And again, Adrian and Aaron are with us as well this evening. Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I just want to commend the Friends for all the work you do, and that, as we know, you will continue to do. And I know that this has been tossed around for a while, but I think renaming this park Friends Park, it will be aptly named and a reflection of all of your work and good things that you've done for the parks in the city of Berkeley. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, well, Adrian and Aaron, we've certainly locked you into continuing in your role, at least into the future, now that we have that taken care of. Any comments from either of you? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Teresa, and the city for thinking of us. And yeah, I hope we can continue to do our part in the city to help Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron, anything you'd like to add?
Everything Adrian said, thank you very much. Sorry. But I am excited to see the future of the park, and we will see you guys soon, hopefully in 2021, next to face-to-face event.
All right. Well, thank you both for attending this evening and for the incredibly hard work and diligent work you guys have done over really the past decade to support our Parks and Recreation Department. Seeing no additional questions or comments from council members, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on R3820?
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennon?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes. Thank you for that, and thank you, Teresa, for being with us, and Adrian and Aaron for hopping on for a couple of minutes tonight. We really appreciate that. We now move on to item number 8, please, on our agenda.
Resolution number R3920, matter of approving a resolution requesting reallocation of assets.
Is there a motion to approve R3920?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion approved by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one's a bit of a technical item. We met with MERS earlier this year following our annual valuation of our retirement account. And as the resolution says, we don't have just one big pile of money that we would consider to be the retirement assets for our plans. That's segmented based on department and date of hire. In this situation, we've got 2 that cover our Department of Public Works employees. So what we're looking at now is we've accumulated quite a bit of assets in our new hire section. We've still got a number of employees paying into that now, but we've reached a point through attrition where we have more benefits being paid out now than the assets that we have in the DPW account for the employees hired prior to a date specific. So as you see, the resolution bears that out, and just in technical language provided to us by MERS. So what we merely want to do is within the DPW assets, We want to shift some of the ones we have in the newer employees to the older employees. That's really all this does. When you reach a certain point that the benefit levels paid out is a greater ratio than the assets on hand, you start to pay a premium for that. This is just good housekeeping to avoid having to do that. So this comes to you, the language has come to you provided by MERS through our finance department. So we are seeking approval this evening on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baumgarten, for explaining this item. Questions or comments? Everybody is doing just a tremendous job of explaining things today. That is very clear, and obviously these are things that we've looked at previous to this. Well, thank you, City Manager, for that description. I know I had some questions early on when I just saw this as we were going through the agenda. I'm like, reallocating of assets, can we just go ahead and do that? Obviously we can. MERS provides the framework and provides the language to allow us to do so, which in my opinion makes things a whole lot neater and cleaner. Anyway, with that being said and seeing no additional comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on R 3920?
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennon?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes. As we are currently in the election season, we now move on to casting some votes. Item number 9, please, Ms. Mitchell.
Motion number M6220, matter of approving casting Berkley's official vote for the following to serve as a director on the board of directors for the MML liability and property pool, and directing the city clerk to send in the marked ballot.
Is there a motion to approve M6220?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion approved by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Baumgarten, would you like to tell us about these folks a little bit, briefly?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So as you know, because we're members of the Michigan Municipal League, we have access to their property and liability pool, which allows us to aggregate our risk along with the risk of many other municipalities across the state. And so that we don't, this is a way that we fund our damage to property and the like. This is the way that we fund some of our response to potential litigation that comes across. This essentially acts as our property insurance on behalf of the city. So in order to make sure that the decisions for this fund are made with municipalities in mind, the Michigan Municipal League seeks out municipal people. In this case, you've got a city manager of Greenville, the mayor of Chelsea, mayor of the city of Fenton, as well as the village manager for the village of Hillman. All individuals that will keep cities like Berkley front of mind when they're making important decisions. So we've been supplied with four candidates for vacant positions. And so Michigan Municipal League asked that we return 2 of these individuals to their position, as well as add 2 to this great board.
Thank you for that. And I think oftentimes we, especially on council, we say MML and we see the MML so much that we don't necessarily always think about everything that being a part of that group does for us and supports us just across just about everything that we do in the community. And as you mentioned, you know, acting as sort of our liability and property pool here, our insurance on that is a tremendous asset and something that we have leveraged a number of times in the past and as a resource, and will continue to do so. Questions for Mr. Baumgarten on our official vote before we vote and cast? Okay, looks like those 4 have done a tremendous job campaigning. I'm sure we've gotten upwards of 100 emails a day from each of them, just like we get from everybody else this time of year. I have not seen too many commercials, but we will move forward. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M6220?
Hennon?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes. Our official vote will be cast. And now we move on to item number 10, please, Ms. Mitchell.
Ordinance number O-1520, matter of considering the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan to add new section 138-226 to chapter 138 zoning of the City of Berkley zoning ordinance to allow parking requirement modifications during site plan review.
Is there a motion to approve O-1520?
So move.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgart?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item comes to you by way of the Planning Commission, who has already held a public hearing and given this item careful consideration before making a recommendation to this body. You're joined this evening by Community Development Director Aaron Schluto, who's been working closely with the Planning Commission on creating this ordinance.
Mr. Director, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Before you today is the proposed zoning ordinance amendment to add section 138-226. As City Manager Baumgart mentioned, I've been working very carefully with the Planning Commission over several months to craft this ordinance for you this evening. This is specific for developers, property owners who are interested in projects that develop the entire site. It would give the Planning Commission the authority to modify or reduce a parking requirement in specific circumstances and based on evidence that's being provided by an applicant. This would mean it would help those projects that would not necessarily qualify for a variance if they went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, because there is not a practical difficulty related to that project. The methods of evidence or factors that an applicant may choose to provide to the Planning Commission are included in the ordinance before you. They include things such as peak period parking usage versus a normal usage, or would allow the opportunity for the applicant and developer to use green space, landscaping, instead of using all of the property for impervious parking surfaces, or where an alternate requirement would be more applicable based on the intended use. There are 9 factors that the applicant may provide. They can use all of them, one of them. The Planning Commission would have the authority, and it would be on a case-by-case basis on what works best for that site. It's not required for them to meet all of them. However, if they meet more than one, it just adds more to their case. The Planning Commission discussed this at multiple meetings, and it was determined that a 10% cap or a maximum threshold would be something that they felt more comfortable with. Included in the packet is the memo that I had written to the Planning Commission, in which I provided a lot of what other communities in our area or comparable communities have done. And they range from allowing the Planning Commission to have full authority and autonomy to decide whatever threshold they want, and others have a little bit more strict factors that need to be met. Also, I provided the 3 most recent site plans that have come before the Planning Commission, just to see what type of reduction would be at their maximum with this 10% if in each of those cases they decided to do that. So that was Aqua Tots, the La Salette development, and Kinder Care over on 12 Mile. Now, the maximum cap does not mean that each request or each applicant would receive that maximum. Based on the discussion with the Planning Commission, they may only grant 2% or 3%. It would really be a case-by-case basis, but the 10% allows a ceiling, so that way they don't reduce their parking to anything that would put a hindrance to the public. As the City Manager mentioned, the Planning Commission held their public hearing at the September 22nd, 2020 meeting. No public comment was received at that meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Schluto, for giving us the background and for providing all of the information that you provided, looking at all, what a number of our neighboring communities do, and even applying it to some of the recent cases that have been before the Planning Commission. Questions for our director from members of council? Councilmember Hennon?
Yeah, one comment and then a quick question. I know parking is often a hot button topic in the community, and there's probably some concern giving this discretion, but I'm perfectly comfortable giving our planning commission this discretion with these criteria. Just if it, I don't expect it to be abused, but if it is, we can always take that back, that discretion back away. The question I have is, the burden of proof for this is on the applicant. It's something they must request and that they provide the evidence. And this isn't something that the planning commission can initiate, correct?
Correct. The planning commission, it's not their job or their authority to design a site for an applicant. If something were to come before them and, in terms of discussion, it may come up, but really this is applicant driven. This is something we want them to look at. We want them to present to the planning commission and to staff, showing what is best for the community. And if they want to say add a green buffer or add some landscaping, that's something that enhances the community. And if it takes 1 or 2 parking spaces, that would be something that would allow a community enhancement without potentially disturbing the public parking. So that would be an argument that they could make to the planning commission. But yes, it would be applicant driven to provide that evidence.
Okay, perfect. And then I think that also may assuage some of the fears that of a planning commission out of control, that, this is applicant driven, not planning commission driven. So thank you.
Okay, additional questions? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of comments quickly. I think this is exceptionally well researched and documented, and it's a tremendous job. I think that we need to rely on our planning commission to look at things like this and use their discretion. I think it'll make things much better in the community and give us some better site development. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Blanchard. Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just want to say thank you to Director Schluto and the entire Planning Commission. As it was indicated, it came up over the course of several meetings, and they did a very thorough job diving into this, as Councilmember Blanchard indicated, and Aaron doing a lot of research on it. So thank you all very much for that, which I think is a really good policy, in no small part because it does encourage that the use of green space. So I think that it was really well done. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Additional questions? Does not appear that anybody else. I thought for a minute I was frozen. Nobody was moving, but now I see people breathing. So no, there are no additional questions. Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Luto, for the explanation and how we got to this point and answering the questions that we had. I do think that this does make sense as long as, it is obviously on the applicant, it is not on the planning commission to try to make any case for this, and that we have a little bit of future flexibility there. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on O-1520?
Price?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennon?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes. We now move on to item number 11, please.
Ordinance number O-1620, matter of considering the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, to amend Division 7 of Article 6 of Chapter 138, zoning of the City of Berkley Code of Ordinances to modify site plan review procedure.
Is there a motion to approve O-1620?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Hennon with support from Councilmember Baker. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you'll see from the memo supplied by Director Stuto, this item likewise followed the same process as the previous one. It's been through Planning Commission. They held the required public hearing and fulfilled their duty of making a recommendation to this body.
Ms. Schluto?
Yes, thank you. Before you this evening are several updates to Division 7 of Article 6 of the zoning ordinance. I'll go through a couple of them, or I'll go through them, but I'll do it very quickly. So when we were going through some stuff during parking modification, we noted that there were some items during site plan review that needed some clarification, just to make sure that the developers, the applicants, the public, they knew what was expected of them throughout. Section 138-677, or yes, 677, we noted that the 11-mile district was not included in that table of districts that would require site plan review during development. And we felt it was important to make sure that that was changed and updated so that if there was a project that came before that wanted to be done in that district, that we made sure that it had the appropriate approvals. Additionally, we wanted to clarify and modify the alterations for the facade changes. What was the threshold for going before Planning Commission? What could be done administratively? This, again, was just to ensure that there is clarification and that the developers know exactly what they're getting into and where their requirements are for approval. Section 138-678, again, the clarification for future developers, but also we wanted to include a provision in there that the zoning administrator has the authority to send any development, any project, anything to the Planning Commission if it's felt that the size, scope, or intensity of a project needs more of a public review instead of just administrative. This was put in as a way to ensure that if there was a project that had a facade change of a 49%, but the intensity looks like it needed Planning Commission approval, that the zoning administrator had the authority to do that. Section 138-680, this is the standards and the items that needed to be included in the site plan approval package. And it just specifies that any color and material samples should be provided to the Planning Commission during the public meetings. Section 138-682, this allows for minor revisions to be conducted administratively rather than a full Planning Commission review. The way it's currently written, anything that deviates from the final site plan needs to go back through the entire approval process. So we wanted to give the developers or the applicants a little bit more flexibility. So that way, if they're changing things that don't impact ingress, egress, parking, facade materials, and they're just changing some landscaping or things of a more minor nature that you wouldn't even notice, those could be done administratively and make the process a little bit easier for them in the long run. The last item is section 138-684. This is the extension of a site plan approval. Currently, as it's written, applicants are allowed 1 year from final site plan approval to get their building permits. This had been discussed prior to COVID and all of this shutdown, but it's the perfect example of why some flexibility is needed for these site plan approvals, because things can happen outside of a developer's control, right? Even before COVID, there could have been some financing stuff they just need a little bit more time to work out, or there could be some environmental stuff with the site that they weren't aware of. And this allows them to request an extension from the Planning Commission for their project without having to go through the whole review process again. They would still need to go to the Planning Commission and ask for that approval prior to the expiration of their site plan. They're allowed up to 2 one-year extensions, but this would allow them a little more flexibility so they don't have to go through the whole process again. As the city manager mentioned, the public hearing was held at the September 22nd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, and no public comment was received at that time either. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions from council for Director Schluto? Okay, this is very impressive. No, thank you, Aaron, for going through everything that you mentioned. Obviously, there was a public hearing was held. There were no comments received, and this is essentially cleaning up a number of items. And you're right. This what we're currently dealing with is a perfect example of why a little flexibility needs to be there, and at the Planning Commission's discretion for things that are beyond our control, and not forcing somebody to have to go back through the entire process because a global pandemic happens to break out in a year where they are trying to move through the planning process. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on O1620?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Oh, there he is. Jack, are you, oh, there you go. Okay. Can you hear us, Jack? We'll come back to him in a minute.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Blanchard,
I'm back on again. I got knocked off. I say yes.
okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, let's move on to item number 12, please.
Resolution number R4020, matter of considering a resolution to extend approvals of site plan, special land use, variances, etc. that were reviewed and approved by Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals due to delays incurred from COVID-19.
Is there a motion to approve R4020?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Dean with support from Councilmember Gavin. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, this is more or less a continuation of our previous conversation. As was mentioned, sometimes things like global pandemics do put off a development from achieving its desired timeline. This is put forth the City Council to consider allowing for extensions of those deadlines when site plan approvals are received or permissions from the Zoning Board of Appeals. As you know, during normal times, those would have a specific expiration date. We simply want to be mindful of what this year has given us and allow a developer some additional time to execute their either site plan or allow for their variances to come to fruition on something that may have already been approved this year or prior to the lockdowns or shutdowns.
Director Schluto, anything you'd like to add?
No, that really covered it. This resolution was just meant to encapsulate those projects, like Ms. Baumgarten said, from Zoning Board of Appeals that was not part of the previous discussion.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments on R4020? Seeing none, we will continue our efficiency here this evening. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on R4020?
Blanchard, Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
This
Blanchard.
is Blanchard. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I feel like Jack just wants to be the last one to vote now. He is intentionally doing this just in case he changes his mind. I see your game.
I keep getting muted.
I'm sorry. It's not me, I promise. All right. We now move on to our second public comment section of the evening. This is intended for items that were not on today's agenda. The same rules apply as before, but if your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff, please make sure that you email the clerk's office at clerk@berkleymich.net or call the clerk's office at 248-658-3310. If you would like to comment, please raise your hand or dial in at 312-626-6799. You will be recognized by either name or number. When you speak, please state your name and city of residence. A reminder, you will have 3 minutes. And this is a friendly reminder that this time is to be used for public comments and not for campaign purposes. Ms. Mathis?
So the first person that I see with their hand raised is a Sherry Wells. Go ahead.
Okay.
Asking you to unmute.
Ms. Wells?
All right. Well, what I was planning to do is to officially comment that I am running for office. And you just said that that was verboten. But I do have an appreciation for various things about Berkley. The last time you saw me, I was in here as in vintage costume presenting a historical finding aid. And I've updated that and have provided that to your historical museum and the library. And have enjoyed Berkley being a good place for meetings like the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, and have appreciated that your community is very active with recycling too. That's something I have a reputation for in my city of Ferndale. Even to the point where the fire department was looking to replace a truck, and the interim mayor suggested that the fire department talk with Sherry Wells about possibly recycling it. So they have fun with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Ms. Mathis?
Yes, John, I see that your hand is up. Go right
John,
ahead.
welcome back.
Welcome back. Enjoyed listening in on the meeting. I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague from Main Street, Oakland County, Annika Norris, who is the liaison for Berkley through the Main Street program, to make a second presentation, which you guys kind of got a sneak preview of earlier.
Annika?
Hi, thank you. We would like to present Berkley's accreditation. You are in the Main Street program, which we talked about earlier. You are a select level Main Street organization, one of 12 in Oakland County. There's 25 Main Street communities in total that are Main Street Oakland County communities in total. Being a select level provides you a lot of additional resources, such as some of the grants that were presented earlier from Genesis and Flagstar, as well as additional services by staff and through National Main Street. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I thought it was really important. The accreditation certificate was shown earlier. As your liaison, I really enjoy working with all of you. I've gotten to know your city manager better, and Jennifer better, and as well as a lot of people that are on your council and that serve on the Main Street board. So this is this year's accreditation. We know things are different. We're not doing the full day of, it's not quite a full day, but it seems like a full day of meetings and such that we typically do. But we thank you for being a part. We thank you for supporting the Main Street organization, and look forward to working with you in the future.
And myself, thank you, Annika, for being with us and for getting to see that twice now tonight. As you mentioned, we did get a sneak preview early on. Didn't really want to bury the lead there, but thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations to our DDA and Jennifer, you and the DDA, and all of the work that you do as a part of the program. It's tremendous, and we saw benefits of it today, and we've seen them in the past, and we will continue to see why being a part of this group is important to our community. So thank you, and thank you, John, for sticking around to give another intro. We appreciate that. Bye, guys. Ms. Mathis.
I am not seeing any other hands raised or public comment at this time.
All right, we'll give it one more quick second. Again, that phone number, if you are trying to get in, 312-626-6799. No? Okay. All right, with that, we will close our second public comments portion of the evening, and we will now move into communications. Ms. Mitchell, who is the lucky winner?
Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem. You win the honors. You still have to unmute yourself, though, because it doesn't work if you're muted.
Okay. Let me start that over. So the Berkley Royal Oak High Risk Response Team had a hybrid meeting on October 14th. And Mr. Christ was in attendance at that meeting as well. And basically we were just going over establishing best practices for the combined court. We know that the earlier a survivor is connected with an advocate, the better the outcome and safety will be for them. And that's why it's so very critically important to keep that line of communication open between team members so that that connection can be made. We discussed the referral process with respect to each city's public safety department, because we recognize that we might do things a certain way in Berkley. Royal Oak Public Safety probably does things a bit differently. So trying to not only streamline, but make it work for each public safety department, with the goal being as much consistency as possible. Our next team meeting is November the 25th. So I will report back after that, but I'm very encouraged by this effort and the amount of interest and enthusiasm that the team is receiving from both cities of Berkley and Royal Oak. The Michigan Municipal League Convention took place virtually September 29th through October 2nd. And two sessions stood out for me. One was reopening for business, the future of Main Street. And I just have to commend our chamber and DDA for doing all the right things already. And being able really to pivot and explore other possibilities for our downtown businesses has been very, very important for basically their survival. And so I really appreciate the efforts there. I had the privilege of being the moderator for best practices for Parks and Recreation under COVID-19. And again, Director McCarlton is doing all the right things and following the latest guidelines for safety. Not that I had any doubts, but it was affirming to hear how forward-thinking Berkley is and how on top of things we are. So kudos to Parks and Recreation and DDA and Chamber. The community center is now open and masks are required to enter the building. Classes are limited, not only the offerings, but the size of classes is also being limited. And if you'd like to know about the classes, you may visit the Parks and Recreation website, or you can call. They're happy to talk to you about programs. 2 outdoor Halloween events are being offered this season. One is the Halloween Parade, which is now sold out, but it's on October 22nd. And then Trunk or Treat at Berkley Bootacular is on October 30th. And these are being held in conjunction with the Friends of Berkley Parks and Recreation and the Berkley Junior Women's Group, respectively. To stay up to date with future events and programs on the city's Facebook page, as well as the Parks and Rec Facebook page, that's your best source of information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Hennon.
All right, thank you. Just very briefly, no update from the tree board. And then from the Zoning Board of Appeals, Alpha Automotive at the former Dynamic Auto Service location on 12 Mile was allowed to update a non-conforming sign they had, and Strategic Energy Solutions on 11 Mile was allowed to put a mural on their building, but they were denied a request for a non-conforming sign. And then finally, if you haven't already, get out there and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hennon. Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Mayor Pro Tem Dean was talking about, I was fortunate enough to virtually attend the MML conference and sessions about public safety and building community wealth and legislative updates and adapting to Michigan's changing climate. So there was, as always, really great value in these sessions to be able to bring back to Berkley, and certainly, as always, certainly miss the interaction with other elected officials this time around, but still a well done convention by the MML. Couple quick updates from one planning commission. As long as you were basically, awake in the last 40 minutes, you pretty much covered a lot of what planning commission covered this last meeting here at ours. And they also received an update on master plan, or continue to receive updates on master plan progress. The next meeting will be October 27th at 7 p.m. The Environmental Advisory Board, there was no meeting in October, and the next one will be November 19th at 6:30. And the next Master Plan Steering Committee will be October 20th at 7 p.m., which is tomorrow. And as Councilmember Hennon said, don't forget to vote. Thank you very much.
Ooh, hit the wrong button there when I was trying to unmute. They got a little dicey. I almost got kicked out on myself. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Gavin. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple of quick updates as well. The Technology Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet this Wednesday in a couple of days' time at 6:30, virtual, and the link is online and all that good stuff. And it's a good time to remind folks that October is a Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We, as a part of the consent agenda this evening, passed a resolution or a proclamation about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'd encourage you to take a peek at that, but just in case you'd rather not, I just want to let you know the campaign for this time around is called Stop, Think, Connect. And it reminds us about the risks that we take when we we link different systems together. Our resolution speaks to the thoughtful care that we take as a community, as a city, to protect our public assets. And we'd encourage all folks at home to likewise take precaution. Many of the popular sites and destinations these days offer what they call two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication sounds kind of crazy, but it's really simple. It's a two-step process. It usually requires you to enter a password into some kind of a screen or a form or something. And then so that's the one factor. And the other factor is some kind of a response to a notification. So basically, you could register your cell phone number or something with the service. And then they'll send you a text that says, "Hey, is this really you?" Or they'll give you a code that you turn around and type that code back into the website. If this sounds familiar, then you're doing the right thing. That's super awesome. And if this sounds like newfangled stuff to you, well, it probably is. So give it a try, and I think you'll like it, and your cyber health will thank you for it. Our Downtown Development Authority (DDA) gathered, I should say, last week's Wednesday, the 14th. Sadly, we didn't quite have enough folks in the room to reach quorum. That was caught in the middle of that zone of timing where we're doing these kind of Zoom meetings wasn't in its entirety wasn't okay to do, and so we had some of the board members in person and others were on the line, but I don't know if we did the math wrong or something, but we didn't get enough folks into the room, so we weren't able to formally conduct business, but great conversations, reaffirming about the wayfinding signs that are continuing. We'll be getting those up later in November and December to help us find our way around downtown. In a sad update about the Berkley Plaza project, you might remember some enthusiasm about this project on Coolidge, fronting or next to the high school, in partnership with the school district and the chamber and all this good stuff. Sadly, the bids came in way over what we had expected. And for all sorts of reasons, the board is going to reevaluate that in the spring and see how we could come up with a project that would come within the budget that we have set aside for that. So hopefully news to come in the new year. And historical committee, just a couple of quick things. The museum is now open on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And face masks will be requested, and I want you to come and enjoy in safety. I mentioned in our last council meeting that the historical committee was doing a fundraiser selling the street signs, the old street signs as they are replaced. It was a great partnership with our DPW, and we want to thank all the folks over there for helping us with this and bringing them over to the museum. And then, of course, to the volunteers on the historical committee for interacting with and publicizing and working with the residents to make this happen. Now, the essence of the fundraiser was to raise funds in order to put up a official plaque once the old fire station is officially declared a historic site on all these official registers and things. So that is in process, and now they'll have the funds necessary to put the sign up so that we can, walkers by and folks like that can read more about the history of the fire hall. So that project will take on the next step here because funds have come in. I want to thank everybody for enjoying that. The new holiday mug is available. It's a festive picture of the Berkley Theater. It's available in the museum and at the city clerk's office. So if you do find yourself heading in there to, as my colleague said, to get out there and vote, if you bring in your absentee ballot early, ask for, buy a mug on the way out. Come away with the souvenir. And we actually even ordered a small supply of last year's mug featuring the Berkley Santa that's on the corner of, it's usually on the corner of 12th and Coolidge. That we have mugs of those as well if you don't have that yet in your collection. And finally, my colleague spoke of the MML convention. Michigan Municipal League does do tremendous things. We heard one of the other benefits in their programs earlier in our agenda. And I'll close with a quote from the mother of the Honorable Clarence Anthony. Now, Mr. Anthony is the executive director of the National League of Cities, and he gave one of the keynote addresses. We talk often of the various sessions which are targeted on specific topics and things, and he gave one of the keynotes. And in the course of that dialogue, he shared something that his mother said. His mother, there's a long story to it, but the mother said, it's not your problem to solve, it's all of ours to solve. Now, the context of that happened to be around like garbage pickup or something like that, and Mr. Anthony was the mayor of the city and felt some degree of responsibility for some issue with the garbage pickup. And his mother came to the council meeting that night to raise the issue, to ask about this stuff. And during the council meeting, he said, "Mom, we just had dinner together before this meeting. Why didn't you mention it then?" And she said, "Well, I didn't want you to fret about this because it's not your problem to solve. It's all of ours to solve." It was the way in which things were being handled and all this kind of stuff. I share that story because, boy, we have a lot of problems to solve. It's you talk about fatigue this and fatigue that, and there's a lot of fatigue, but the problems remain. We've for months spoken publicly about some pressing issues going on in our society, and I know we've all spoken passionately and from the heart with sincerity. And these persist. They continue to be problems across the country and here in Berkeley. So again, it's not one person's problem to solve; it's all of ours to solve. And I just like again to remind us all to please be safe, be respectful, and be kind to one another. Because after all, we are the city that cares, and by that we mean we care about everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Price.
Thank you. I want to thank the city staff, especially those who are working so hard to facilitate a safe and secure election process. Our library continues to offer curbside pickup and home delivery of items, as well as digital resources and virtual events for all ages. A special congratulations to the regular members of the Tuesday afternoon book club, who recently celebrated their 25th anniversary of monthly meetings. That's an accomplishment. Congratulations. The Beautification Committee will be planting hydrangeas at the newly renamed Friends Park on Wednesday. Of course, social distancing and masks will be required for that activity. And the Citizens Engagement Advisory Committee recently updated its mission, vision, and duties. The newly revised vision is that the CEAC will raise public awareness of city services, promote the City of Berkeley's vision for an inclusive community, and build trust between the community and the city. More details of the full mission, vision, and duties can be found under Boards and Commissions on the city's website. And I just want to note that as heartbreaking as it is to cancel the many holiday gatherings that have become central to our family and community traditions, we must focus on that core value of safety as the motivation for doing so. And we can innovate, finding new ways to celebrate and cherish each other until gathering in person is safe again. Stay safe and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple of things. The Chamber of Commerce magazine, which came out about a year ago for the first issue, is going to come out again this October. And it lists has a lot of articles about local businesses and lists all the chamber members and has a lot of good advertisements, publicity for local businesses. You see that coming to your house probably around the end of this month. Also, the chamber is involved with the State of the City, which will be October 29th at 4 p.m. It's a virtual State of the City this year, so be sure and plan on tuning into that to find out who the business of the year is, the business person of the year. See presentations by the City of Berkeley, Huntington Woods School District, Berkeley DDA, and the Chamber of Commerce, and City of Huntington Woods also, excuse me. A little bit on Halloween safety. Trick-or-treating hours start around 6 p.m. Talk with children about safety and social distancing guidelines and expectations. Keep a 6-foot distance from others not in your group. Participate in a one-way trick-or-treating and guide children to stay to the right to ensure social distancing. Trick-or-treat with people you live with. Avoid congregating in groups around houses. Wear a face covering, both mouth and nose, and a Halloween costume mask does not suffice for this, so you may want to get a mask that has a Halloween theme on it. Only go to houses with safety measures in place. Be sure to drive slow and especially alert in residential neighborhoods. Always walk on the sidewalk or pathways. Never dart out in the street or cross between parked cars. Make sure to carry a flashlight with you to help see and be seen. And always check candy before eating. Now, there's a few tips for homeowners also. Do not hand out candy if you're sick. Wear a face covering if you're handing out candy. If you can, mark 6-foot safe spaces on your driveway or sidewalk so people know how far to stay apart. Distribute candy on a disinfected table to eliminate direct contact. Wash your hands often. Consider handing out candy in an open space where distancing is possible rather than from the front door, like in your driveway. Consider a neighborhood costume parade. And if you do not wish to participate in Halloween activities, turn off your lights and close the curtains so the kids aren't coming up and pounding on your door. These suggestions are all available on the city website, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services website, and the CDC website. So if you have any questions or any ideas, you can look there for them. So that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. That is incredibly important as we get closer to Halloween. Moving on today, we will go first to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 items for you this evening. As you know, the City Hall reopened on October the 6th. So I just want to say thank you to our visitors who have been incredibly mindful of the new rules that we have inside the building. They not only have they done a great job of keeping one another's safety in mind, but people have been very kind in keeping our own staff safety in mind as well. Our staff has worked very hard to be as accommodating as possible during these very strange times. They've showed an incredible amount of perseverance and have kept a high level of morale throughout everything that we've asked them to do so far. So it's greatly appreciated on all ends. And we'd also like to say we're meeting this evening virtually And that is not in any small part thanks to the hard work of the Michigan Municipal League, who worked to interface with the legislature to really hammer home the importance of being able to have this opportunity and take advantage of it. I would like to say thank you to our own rep and state senator who both supported the bills in the House and the Senate. And then also, again, to the league for making sure that Senate staff was able to quickly accommodate the signing of this bill. So they ran into some bureaucratic snafus, but again, talking about the perks of being league members, we had that office right in Lansing, making sure that this got to the governor's desk, and she hung around late on a Friday night to get it signed. So it was a win all the way around, and we're able to do our meeting and subsequent meetings through the end of the year much safer, if we would, than trying to be in the same room at the same time. So kudos and thanks to all those that had a hand in getting us here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. And although, as you mentioned, we were able to do this tonight, there were, I can't even tell you how many dozens of emails were exchanged back and forth with you, with me, with Ms. Mitchell, with John Starron, with the league, with representatives, with anybody who would listen. And then we got to the point where the houses were good, and then we just needed the governor to sign it. And we're very hopeful that it happened before we were able to hold our meeting tonight, which obviously happened. So thank you for giving a little play-by-play. As I just mentioned, the city clerk, Ms. Mitchell, we have something coming up in just a few days you probably want to mention today.
We do. We have an election coming up. November 3rd is the general election. To date, we've issued 6,748 absentee ballots, and we've received about 3,200 back. Just as a plug, if you do have your absentee ballot completed, please drop that off either at City Hall. We have a drop box access outside the office. You can walk it into the city clerk's, and we also have a drop box in front of the community center. The precincts will also be open on election day. We've received some questions regarding that. All 7 precincts will be open on election day for those who wish to vote in person. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Additionally, our evening office hours were a success, and now we're moving into our additional Saturday hours. So for anyone who prefers to come in on the weekend, the clerk's office will be open for election-related business from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. this Saturday, which is the 24th, and from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. October 31st. If anyone has any questions regarding voting or hours or drop boxes, please call us at 248-658-3310, or you can find all kinds of great information and documents at berkleymich.org/vote.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell, for all the work that you have done in the elections team to have another successful election coming up here at the beginning of November. That absentee number that you mentioned, sent out 6,700, that has to be dangerously close to 50% of registered voters.
It is.
We were at 6,200, and I think that was about 46% or so, if I'm recalling those figures correctly. So
yes,
we are right in that neighborhood. All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for all the work that you and your staff have done. Mr. Christ, you're with us this evening. We want to give you some time to speak. Anything you would like to address?
I have nothing this evening, Mayor, but it's nice to be with you and council.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us this evening, Dan. And we did our best to try to give you not too much of a complicated agenda. I think you were pinch hitting this evening, so thank you. I have just a few quick things. One, I already mentioned this, but I want to reinforce again the guidelines that Councilmember Blanchard mentioned as it relates to Halloween safety this year. And as we discussed with the holiday parade earlier, it's incredibly unfortunate that things are different this year, but we need to do things differently to keep our residents and folks visiting our city safe. And it was not lip service at the beginning when I said I am committed to trying to find a way that we can have some sort of holiday activities, whether it's virtually or other, to try to do something to uplift and work with our residents as we move into the holiday season, which is shockingly already here. One thing that isn't different this year, so that's good, not different, is my appeal to treat others with respect, especially if they have differing opinions from your own, and especially on social media. This particular national election seems to be the most polarizing election that I can recall. Unfortunately, I thought that about the 2016 election as well, and I really hope that this does not become a trend, that every 4 years we were in this boat. But folks have very strong feelings about their choices, just as I do, and that's fine. But what isn't fine is the personally attacking somebody who just has a different point of view. I have yet to hear of anybody who has changed their mind on a particular candidate because somebody else in a comment thread attacked their point of view. If any of you think that is successful, please enlighten me. But support your candidate or candidates. Don't hurl insults just because somebody has a different opinion than you. And if you haven't voted, as you've heard, please do so on or before November 3rd. And finally, I have a sneaking suspicion that we are not the most widely viewed program on your local access stations this evening. I believe that distinction probably belongs to the school board as they discuss plans for transitioning back to in-person instruction. As you know, or maybe you don't even know, my children certainly attend the Berkley schools, and I want to thank Superintendent McDavid, all of the administrative staff, and the school board for their handling of what essentially is a no-win situation, but making decisions based on data and science to keep our children and the educators and everybody else safe. I know that past decisions and tonight's decision are not easy votes to cast, but they do so with the expectation to maintain our high educational standards, balanced against the safety and wellness of all of those involved. I thank them for their service to our community, and I'm interested to see if they came to a decision this evening. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Hennon. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. The October 19th, 2020 meeting of the 38th Council is adjourned.